Hi, my name is Nick Petrarca, and we are the EWG Mercury. I will have my panelists introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Mr. Rounds. I'm the teacher in the EWG TV studio.
I'm Johnny Glendenning. I'm a student and a senior here at EWG.
I'm Marcus Seminini. I'm a student and a senior here at EWG.
Quindazzi, history teacher here at EWG.
Now, the reason we're here today is to talk about the presidential election. This election has been extremely hyped compared to other elections, but the real question is why?
If I can just start this off, I think it's pretty simple why this election is so hyped compared to most elections. If you look at basically everything, the three main candidates that we have: 1, Bernie Sanders; 2, Hillary Clinton; and 3, Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton just went through a huge email scandal, which basically creates hype around her. 2, Bernie Sanders is a so-called democratic socialist, and then that scares a lot of people. And he's also someone who doesn't really play, like he's not like the general politician that you would look for. And also 3, Donald Trump. And as we all know, Donald Trump has a wide list of accolades that he has that he likes to brag about, and he in no way follows the basic political process. So with those 3 candidates like headlining, that basically makes everyone, hyped up to see who's going to win, and makes people like wonder who's going to say what next, what racist comment Donald Trump's going to make next.
Donald Trump, he brags.
Occasionally, like you have to pay close attention to hear it, but
I feel like Donald Trump has an extremely strong personality, and I feel like that's why he's getting a lot of popularity.
Definitely.
Part of the reason why the hype is so big. How about you, Quindazzi?
Well, I feel like I agree, but also the fact that we started out with 16 Republican candidates was pretty extraordinary, and those debates were extraordinary. And I do think that when you mix Trump into that first debate was he went right in there and he started throwing the bombs, and then everybody wanted to watch. So I think that there's a lot of interest on the Republican side, on the Democratic side as well. And then also I would say that really media coverage, social media coverage especially, has really made the election accessible to everyone.
Yeah. I have to say that Donald Trump has definitely, I would say, turned like this whole campaign upside down, because like you were saying, at all the debates, like he just says the most outrageous things. He called out Rosie O'Donnell. He said a really bad thing about Ted Cruz in the last debate. Like, it's just been nuts to watch. Like, it's crazy to think that he's running for president and this is the way he acts.
There were times I've always thought at one point in the very beginning when he decided to become a nominee or a candidate for the presidency, that at one point he said, they'll never vote me in. And now he's sitting there saying, maybe they will. So I would agree.
It's hard not to talk about how hyped this election is without just basically talking about Donald Trump. But really, Donald Trump has said so many things, and he gets a lot of the Republican voters to really think about causes that I guess go along with the Republican Party, but in the most insane ways possible. Just for an example, how he calls out Obamacare. It's general knowledge that Republicans are not a big fan of Obamacare or Obama in general, and basically Trump just calls it out. He's going completely against Mexican immigrants, wants to put up a wall, calls out Jeb Bush's wife on a regular basis. And one thing about Trump is he gets people interested because he'll talk about other Republican candidates and it'll seem like he's slowly digging them out of the hole while just burying them in
And I also feel that this election is very hyped because a lot of the stuff that Donald Trump is saying physically can't be done. There's no way Obamacare can be repealed at this point. And by him making that promise, it's causing a lot of friction between Republicans and Democrats. I think that friction is kind of what is driving this election.
Absolutely.
Well, I would say that one of the more interesting things to step back and look at is you could call this the election, the rise of the anti-establishment candidates, because on the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton is the most establishment candidate you could possibly think of. Yet we have a 75-year-old Jewish socialist who has defeated her in one of the
Democratic socialist.
Democratic socialist who has defeated her. Now, obviously the long way to go in the election, but he is, if this campaign happens 12 or 16 years ago, we're not even talking about this. And I think that's because of the disaffection of the voters with the establishment. And on the Republican side, I don't know that Donald Trump himself, I mean, his personality definitely plays into it, right? Because, basically he's just saying, screw the establishment Republican candidates, and that's what people want to hear. And I don't think what he actually says makes that much difference, because if it did, people would have been like, oh, all right, well, we don't really want him because of the things he says. Which, by the way, are, he might say A equals X one day, and then he might say A equals Y the next day, and it doesn't seem to make any difference.
Like, what is it? The last, as soon as Ted Cruz won a state or whatever, he's like, oh, I love Ted Cruz. Look at an interview 3 months ago, he'll be like, Ted Cruz is an absolute clown. Like,
he'll say anything that just serves the audience that he happens to speak serves him with the audience he's speaking to at that particular moment.
What does that say, though, when we're looking at, matter of fact, someone on TV, I was listening to CNN, the one thing they were talking about, a similar conversation to what we're having, they said, he's saying what people want to hear.
Yeah.
What does that say about the whole process?
It makes me a little scared, to be honest, if he does get elected. I mean, because when you're president, you can't exactly say what people want to hear. You got to make actual decisions that people aren't exactly going to agree with.
Where's your emergency?
Hi, we're back with the EWG Mercury. Our next segment, I believe we are talking about how media has influenced the presidential election, which has been extremely exponential in this past upcoming election. What's your thoughts, Mr. Reynolds?
Well, the other day, in particular, last week, Marco Rubio had a quote-unquote bad debate. And to define a bad debate is sort of subjective, but the news hammered him. I mean, every news station hammered him, and a lot of people said he went from, I think, 13% in the polls to, I think, 9-10% in the actual numbers that you see. A lot of people said that was affected by the media basically saying he was terrible, bad job, terrible job, and that affected the actual outcome of the poll. And my question is, does the media have too much control over the whole process right now? Too much of an effect over the whole process?
I would definitely think so. Mr. Quindazzi, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I think that the media definitely plays into it, and there's a couple of aspects to that. I mean, first is just the incredible scrutiny that everybody undergoes now. Every single thing that a candidate says is recorded and instantly, tweeted out across the world, and that Marco Rubio screwed up. Literally within 2 minutes of it happening, it started showing up, right? Oh, look, he's repeating himself. So there's that aspect of it, and I also think that there's been a change in the news media over the course of the last 25 or 30 years. It used to be that news was kind of a lost leader for networks and whatnot. And that newspapers could pay for themselves with subscriptions and whatnot, but that's not how it works anymore. They're all for profit, and they benefit from the election, but also they're just trying to make a buck now, so that they want to go for the most sensationalized possible thing that they can go for, which is why Trump is so popular. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Howard Stern, right? But why do people listen to Howard Stern? They want to hear what he's going to say next, because they don't know what he's going to say next, and I think that's where we are with the media.
One thing that I also think is not only just TV media, but I also think that social media has been playing a huge part in this election. Just for example, I remember a couple months ago on Twitter and Tumblr, I would go on and there'd be a lot of liberal people that I would follow, and they'd be like, I love Bernie Sanders, but I don't think he has enough support to beat Hillary. And I think that people are just started showing like all these things he's done in the past. I mean, he was involved in the civil rights movement. He was involved in all sorts of things. He's been like standstill on issues. And I feel like a lot of people have like really gone to support him because of that. And also like even like silly things, like there's a meme going around right now of Bernie and Hillary, and it's like anything cool is under Bernie, and then something that is lame is under Hillary, and it's like all over the place. Every time I go on Facebook or Twitter, it's there, and I feel like even though it's like a stupid little thing, people are using that to base their votes off, I think.
It's an excellent point, especially if you look at the generational split in the support for Bernie Sanders. He gets like 80% of the vote of people under 30 years old. That's men and women. That's extraordinary. And he's kind of even in the middle, and then when you get older, you have Hillary Clinton. So that certainly has got something to do with the way the media covers stuff and what media sources you actually consume.
Yeah, like if you're watching Fox News, they talked about Hillary Clinton's email scandal just about every day, 24/7. Like, so it depends on which news source you're watching. You're watching CNN, they probably didn't talk about it as much. You know, like you watch Fox, all you know is just Hillary's, just an awful person.
Well, you also have, we were talking about media, they all have been on Saturday Night Live, they've been on SNL.
Bernie was on a couple days ago.
He was on The View yesterday.
And he shot basketball.
Yes,
right?
he
Yeah.
did. Why did he do that? Because he was shooting basketball in the back before he came up for his speech of the night. He was shooting baskets in the gym at the high school he was at. And so they sort of augmented that, and with they was eating ice cream. I guess there's an ice cream named after him in Vermont, Ben and Jerry's ice cream, Bernie, whatever it is. So yeah, it's all part of it. And again, does the media have too much control though in the process, in the end result?
Yeah, because with the media, it's so easy to distort like a person's views, and I hate to say it, but the general public is very influential, we'll say, and
influenced.
very easily influenced. And I feel like the media it's the easiest way to do it. If you feel that way.
Virtually all the media outlets, by the way, are owned by 6 corporations in the United States. So we have a very limited choice, and really what they're interested in, again, is sales, right? So let's make money. So whatever can make money is what we want. And it's interesting to look at and think about, which candidates are not so concerned about money in politics, and which candidates are, and how the kind of coverage they may get as a result of that.
I completely agree. Mr. Ross, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I know the next topic is sort of related. We're talking about the female vote.
Yes,
so we're going to bring that up. I'll let you bring that up, and we can talk about that.
With Hillary Clinton, do you believe that females should vote for her just so that we could have a female president? Or, it's a sketchy topic. It's very controversial.
Well, I'm not a female, but should I, as a, picture me as a female for a second, but
okay.
if I were a young female, young voter, and the vote, 21 and above, should I vote for Hillary just because she's a woman? And some people, they feel that way.
Yeah.
If I'm Jewish, should I vote for Bernie Sanders because he's Jewish? If I'm a young African American, should I vote for Obama because he's African American? Should I vote for someone who's Caucasian because I'm Caucasian? I'm Irish. Should I vote for someone who's Irish just because of that? Kennedy, the Irish vote, I'm sure. But Hillary in particular, should people vote for her just because she's a female and the voters are female?
A lot of people already, I think it's been seen that actually more females have been voting for Bernie, which is honestly kind of shocking to me. But,
I feel that if I would agree having like a female president would be really monumental for this country. But if you don't agree with their views, which I feel like you shouldn't really,
Yeah, you should judge it based on what they're going to do, what
Exactly.
they say, how they act,
Yeah.
not necessarily just by like gender or looks or whatever.
I'd just like to point out that this is a good problem to have, because Used to be, they were only white men, and that was it. Okay, so I'm all right with it. We're having this issue, and it's something you certainly can discuss it whether or not that's appropriate or not. But I'm glad that I think at this point, right, we are at the point. Well, maybe Hillary doesn't win, but there's a much smaller impediment to another woman running next time, and nobody really cares all that much that it might be a woman running next time. I think we've kind of cleared that hurdle. I hope we've kind of cleared that hurdle, but that's the issue.
Definitely. All right, thank you so much for joining us. We're the EWG Mercury. We'll see you next time.